Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience in the South and our online audience tuning in, thanks to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. We've been talking a lot on this program about the way that remote learning has affected students, but what about remote working? It's something that a lot of people have had to deal with, and it has definitely upended the way that they're used to being productive, especially if they're not finding themselves having the same type of enthusiasm and even the same type of support. Well, there's new research from Slack, the collaboration software that has completely changed how office workers communicate with each other, have found when it comes to reimagining the way that we're looking at the work experience, especially with this remote working. Here to talk to us about it, we're excited to welcome Christina Janzer. She is the Senior Director of Research and Analytics at Slack. We're going to talk to her about some tips that all of us can benefit from, as well as where you all can get some more information. Christina, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So, Christina, on this program, we've been talking a lot about education and our students because it is such an important thing for them and the way that they're learning. But Slack and of course, a lot of our audience out there is having to deal with what is now remote working. So I want to ask you, how has remote working been affected, especially when it comes to the work-life experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we all know, the pandemic has really forced a massive shift to remote work. And what we're finding in the research that my team has done is that the majority of workers actually really prefer working remotely. But the one thing that is suffering the most is people's sense of belonging. So people feel much more isolated, they feel less connected to their coworkers, and just a little bit less motivated. So that's definitely really top of mind for us.
So what are some of the ways then, Christina, with that in mind, that our audience can be able to see how they can build that connection even while they are dealing with remote working?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, when I think about, sense of belonging, people are feeling more isolated, they're not feeling as connected. And so I think we need to really think about our coworkers as humans, right? Thinking about their well-being, thinking about what people need in order to feel supported and connected. And so there's a few tips that have come out clearly from the research that we've done. So the first thing is that, encouraging breaks, when people take frequent breaks, it actually helps to boost productivity. It helps to mitigate work stress and overall improves your work-life balance. So that might seem like a little thing, but we see it very clearly in the data that taking breaks actually increases productivity, which is really cool. The second thing is, I think people are used to doing, everything on Zoom. And so, what used to be a live meeting is now a video meeting. And we're actually finding that doesn't work very well. And so when people, share status updates in meetings, that actually decreases their sense of belonging. And so it actually is not a great way to spend time. So, too many video meetings is not the answer. And so thinking about asynchronous tools like Slack, rather than taking the time to meet live, putting that in channels so that people can look at it whenever it's convenient for them is the way to sort of solve that problem. The other thing I would say is, this is the time to celebrate small wins. This is the time to give kudos, to recognize all of the work that your team is doing. When people feel isolated, it can feel really lonely. And so when people take the time to reach out and say, hey, you did a great job, that means so much more now. And we see in the data that, recognizing contributions of others really, really impacts your sense of belonging. And finally, thinking about now is a great time to sort of reimagine work and to think about building your digital virtual office, thinking about asynchronous tools, thinking about, all of the solutions that don't involve everyone getting on a Zoom meeting. Now's the time to really think about all of those new practices.
Christina, you brought up something that made me think about our audience and some of the questions and comments I've been getting. You mentioned, of course, about being able to send those, you did a great job, or, it was, congratulations on achieving X, Y, or Z. Another thing that some people I've noticed are missing, especially for those who are used to going into the office, are the relationships, right, that they've had with their coworkers. So what is one of the ways that they can be able to maintain those relationships and those connections that kind of give them some sense of normalcy, even as we're dealing with this new normal in the remote workplace?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've felt this. You're used to attending a meeting, you walk out of the meeting together, and you chit-chat, right? You have those little moments throughout the day where you run into each other in the hallway, and those don't exist anymore. And so, I think virtual tools like Slack are such a great solution to this, because it's so easy to reach out to somebody, to say a quick hello, to send a quick message, and it doesn't require setting up a meeting. It doesn't require, getting on a video together. And so thinking about sort of those lightweight ways to check in with people, to make sure that you're staying connected, to make sure that you're reaching out to meet all the new people, those are the things that are going to require a little bit of a shift in how people think about building connections from sort of the live office to the digital tool. But, tools like Slack can really, really help with that and can really foster a sense of belonging.
You've kind of talked to us not only about the research that Slack has done, but also the benefits of it. Based on the findings, though, of the research, Christina, can you kind of tell us what are some of the changes do you think that companies can start making now to be able to improve not only productivity, but also, as we've been talking about in this conversation, being able to also make people feel that sense of belonging again?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think a couple things to note. One is our research tells us very loud and clear that people do not want to go back to the office full time. They want that flexibility. They want that choice. And so we need to be ready for that as a company. We need to understand that people want the opportunity to be in the office sometimes, to be at home sometimes. And so we need to be prepared for that. The second is, like I mentioned, relationships matter so much. And so making sure that we have the tools to maintain those relationships, that people understand how to do that they understand the tips and tricks, and that we really invest in that is going to be really important long term. And then finally, I think, all of this, we all just have to think about working differently. Now's the time to sort of reimagine some of our old practices. We need to invest in a virtual office. We need to invest in asynchronous communication tools, more flexible work schedules. These are all the things that are going to really boost productivity and satisfaction and just lead to overall higher engagement and retention from our employees.
Yeah, what a great thing, and what great information you've been able to share with us. Christina, again, everyone, Christina Janzer has been our guest. She is the Senior Director of Research and Analytics at Slack. Make sure you guys visit slack.com. A lot of great information. You guys will see also it's a very affordable and a great way to be able to make the workplace a little bit easier and even more productive for you. Christina, thank you so much for the time. Looking forward to having you back again.
Thank you.
And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.